Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. I'm reading The Wheel of Time for the first time and sharing the experience with you. This is One Good Turn, The Eye of the World, and today we are covering Chapter 20! Guys, you ever have one of those days where you determine that you are going to read, and every time you pick up the book, you get a couple paragraphs in, if you're lucky you get a page in, and then boom, phone call, or boom, knock at the door, or any number of things where suddenly you have to put the book down? That was me this chapter. Totally killed the momentum of the chase scene, which obviously is not a ding against the writing itself, which was very tense and very exciting. Nevertheless, that was my added layer of difficulty with this particular chapter this week. As the group seeks to escape the city, Moraine and Lan pull ahead. So the rest of the crew, the Emmons, Fielders, and Tom, are more tightly knit together for the time being, and Moraine and Lan have gotten a bit ahead of them, enough such that mist starts to get in between the two groups, separating them. And because they cannot touch the shadow, they cannot push their way through the shadow and rejoin the two, which is very concerning. And it's going to be really, really fascinating to see the Emmons Fielders have to deal without having their guides with them, essentially. Moraine shouts to them to make for the river as best they can, to follow the red star, and hopefully they can meet up at the river. Shortly after that, the two groups are completely separated from each other and they can no longer communicate. There's a point at which I become so immensely proud of Rand. Everyone was still staring, wondering which way to go. He turned Cloud and the gray broke into a half-trot, tugging against the reins to go faster. As if moving first had made him the leader, everyone followed. Rand takes the lead, and even through all the panic, he remains somewhat stoic. He gritted his teeth to stop his own panting. You have to at least make them think you're not afraid. You're doing a good job, Woolhead. You'll get everybody out safely. Very proud of him. Not even Tom did this. So very good, inherent leadership qualities in Rand. They're making their way through the city. They have to backtrack a few times because they reach areas where their horses cannot pass, or there are just walls up that they can't even climb over. And at some point, several Trollocs approach them, menacingly, of course, with intention to harm. And a fight nearly breaks out, except the horses freak out. And even though Rand shouts out, "This way!" the group scatters and Rand is by himself. Everyone goes off in different directions. Oh no! Don't split the party! Never split the party! As Rand is running through the city, a Fade starts to follow him as well. And of course the Fade and the Trollocs are going to be the red shirts here to lend terror to the horror that is the mist. Because the mist manages to touch these things and it just destroys them completely. It like goes in their bodies and they scream in brutal agony. After a while, he realizes he can't actually hear the screaming anymore, fortunately. He's following the star. He's making his way out. He's concerned about the others. He thinks, is anybody else alive? Egwin, light blind me, why didn't you follow me? He's very concerned about Egwin, of course, and that is something that will come back at the very end of the chapter as well. He's making his way out, and he bumps into Matt. They almost end up attacking each other, because they can't quite see each other at first, but they do see each other. It's important and interesting and noteworthy that it's the two of them together. Obviously knowing what I know, but shouldn't quite know yet, I suppose. Because the fact that they are together makes me wonder, even though Matt is the one whom I believe is taking the knife, is that enough to still count as Rand leaving with something? I'm pretty sure Matt's the one who has to go on that particular story arc regardless, but the thought did occur to me. We get to the gateway. Only the towers remained, standing broken-topped against the black sky. Matt hesitated at the gateway, but Rand said softly, "Is it any safer in here than out there?" And a big, I think that hesitation could either be about the Trollocs, or it could be about what he knows, deep down, he's about to do. He did not slow the gray, and after a moment Matt followed him out of Shadar Logoth, trying to look every way at once. Matt. Okay. Anyway, they keep on keeping on, and amazingly, and I'm very happy for it, suddenly Tom galloped by from behind, slowing only long enough to shout, "Ride, you fools!" A moment later, hunting cries and crashes in the brush behind him announced the presence of Trollocs on his trail. So the chase is not over yet just because they made it out of the city. Arguably the worst is done, but at least they have Tom with them. Some sort of adult supervision. Then we get, interestingly, our first and a half POV shift, whether or not you want to include the Ravens chapter. We switch into Perrin's POV, and I'm really glad for it. I have articulated, I think several times now, so broken record here, that I felt as if Perrin were the least defined character so far. And I do feel a lot more connected to him now. I feel like he is a bit more well-defined now than I had felt before. It's very interesting, some of what Jordan does to help characterize him right off the bat in this POV. Recontextualize isn't quite the right word, because I remember the similar descriptions of Perrin in previous chapters, but I suppose I had interpreted it slightly different than either Jordan intended or than Perrin interprets. I will explain after I read the noteworthy passage. He is more or less still contemplating, thinking, and planning. Perrin sat his horse in the shadows, watching the open gateway, some little distance off yet, and absently ran his thumb along the blade of his axe. It seemed to be a clear way out of the ruined city, but he had sat there for 5 minutes studying it. The wind tossed his shaggy curls and tried to carry his cloak away, but he pulled the cloak back around him without really noticing what he was doing. He knew that Matt and almost everyone else in Emmons Field considered him slow of thought. It was partly because he was big and usually moved carefully. He had always been afraid he might accidentally break something or hurt somebody since he was so much bigger than the boys he grew up with, but he really did prefer to think things all the way through if he could. Quick thinking, careless thinking had put Matt into hot water one time after another, and Matt's quick thinking usually managed to get Rand or him or both in the cookpot alongside Matt too. So I definitely got that he was thoughtful. I don't remember getting that people thought he was slow of thought, or, for lack of a better term, dumb. I never got the impression that anyone at any point thought Perrin to be dumb. And I definitely got that Perrin moved carefully. Again, I thought that was just not even an effect of him being such a big boy, but again, just part of him being very thoughtful, fascinating, very interesting. He makes it out of the city as well, and he bumps into Egwene. And just as I'm starting to think if this is going to start off an Egwene-Perrin romance, they start getting chased. I don't mean in this moment. I mean a storyline involving that, over the course of many chapters, if not many books. But nevertheless, they start getting chased, and then they get separated quick enough after that as well. Perrin, unintentionally, rides off, not a cliff, a buttress, a bluff. He had ridden right off the edge of a sheer bluff into the Arenal. And, scary. In a way, good, because it's going to keep him away from the Trollocs. He basically does his best to swim as he can, and eventually, like right on the verge of he can't put in any more energy, he makes it to the shallows and across the river, at which point we leave him. So very interesting, good time. I suspect now that the party has broken, or separated rather, we're going to get a lot more POV shifts at this point. Rand, Matt, and Tom are traveling as best they can, trying to follow the Red Star. Trollocs overcome them, and Tom does some magnificent dagger fighting. For a moment during the fight, Rand thinks Tom just runs off, but then he comes back, and if I haven't said it before, and I know I have, I like Tom quite a lot. Probably my favorite character so far. At one point, some of Tom's knives end up on the ground, and they have to keep moving, so there's no time to pick them up, and he laments, "My second best knives!" Quite fun. They make it to the river, which is good, but they can't decide if they need to go north or south, and Tom ultimately just picks a direction, south, and starts going. Eventually, they come upon a raft. They hop on the boat. Rand accidentally, I guess, bumps into one of the dock workers, or one of the ship workers, boat workers? One of the workers. But the Trollocs are chasing after them, and now there are workers fighting off the Trollocs, and there's a point where one of the Trollocs manages to get a blow with the catchpole onto Rand, and it knocks his sword out of his hand. For a moment, I am freaking out, thinking, I do not let that sword fall into the river. It is too valuable, too emotionally valuable. Do not be separated from it. But to another point, it almost doesn't matter, because Rand thinks he's about to die. He can't move, or it's like jerky and very bad, and the prose is, he watched the thick arm go back. He could already feel the broken haft ripping through his spine, feel the pain of it tearing him open. He thought his lungs would burst. "I'm going to die. Light, help me, I'm going to." The Trolloc's arm started forward, driving the splintered shaft, and Rand found the breath for one yell. "No!" And then Jordan does a little bit of lampshading here, but I think it's deeper than it appears. Suddenly the ship lurched, and a boom swung out of the shadows to catch the Trolloc across the chest with a crunch of breaking bones, sweeping it over the side. For a moment, Rand lay, panting and staring up at the boom, swinging back and forth above him. "That has to have used up my luck," he thought. "There can't be any more after that." So, a little lampshady, if not for the fact that I feel very confident that this is either the work of the good spirits, so to speak. Not that we've had any, like, specific, there are good spirits in this world type thing. I mean more like whatever force of good exists in the world, or it is Rand accessing the power to protect himself instinctually. Particularly, it is noted later on that one of the workers did make sure, or he claims to have confidently tied up that part of the boat, which is why I think magic's involved here. Anyway, the boat has made it far enough that the Trollocs have more or less stopped chasing them for the time being, and the ones on the boat are taken care of, and the ship captain comes out. He's a bit short with Gelb, the watchman, who I guess is the one that Rand had bumped into when he had initially leapt onto the boat. So there's something adversarial between those two that could, I think, potentially get tense, if not dangerous. We'll see. There. "Were you no supposed to secure this boom, Gelb?" the captain asked with surprising calm, though just as fast as before. "But I did. Tied it down tight. I admit I'm a little slow about things now and then, Captain Domon, but I get them done." So, that was that passage about how he's confident he did it. Tie the thing down. Stupid Rand, stupid Matt. Actually, in this case, I think it was Matt, was pretty much prepared to say they were on their way to Camelin and then Tarvalon. But Tom, very smart, very wise, very glad that Tom is there to supervise. Hey, that rhymes. starts speaking for them and tells them that they are his apprentices. He goes into this story about how they wintered in a nearby town, how they went to Arid Hall to seek treasure, and they had been chased by Trollocs and the like ever since. And of course, Tom makes himself the main character of the story, which I appreciate. I find that very funny. The captain is prepared to throw them overboard, or so he says. I don't know if he'd out and out do that, but he certainly wants something in exchange for the travel. Lamentably, Matt and Rand cough up the silver pieces that Moraine had given them at the start of the story. Very lamentably. For a handful of reasons. I'm wondering, see, I had said way back when that I suspected that those coins were enchanted to allow for Moraine to find them, should they get separated in a case like this. And I suspect Moraine will now have to track down this guy, expecting to find them. Very excited to see that play out. And then Tom chastises them after all is said and done, saying, I could have talked him down to letting us travel for a couple of stories, which Matt feels very strongly that would not have worked on the captain. And I'm inclined to agree with Matt here. There is a point where the captain wants to be paid with the heron-marked sword, but Rand out and out says no, absolutely not, flat out refuses. To him, having the sword with him is the same as having his father with him. That was a very sweet passage. So, at the end of the day, what we get from all of this is that the group of three will be going to Whitebridge. They have passage to Whitebridge. The captain refuses to go back to look for the others, which is just as well. He claims that they've traveled miles just in the span of that fight and that whole storytelling venture. Very well. The meeting concludes. Domon goes on about how he is very familiar with Trollocs. They've been chasing him. He wintered in Saldea. So this is a well-traveled, dangerous gentleman. And as Tom, Matt, and Rand depart from the captain's room, we get a very nice passage concerning Egwene. Rand walked slowly to the rail and leaned against it, staring back up the night-shrouded river. He could not see anything but black, not even the riverbank. After a minute, Tom put a hand on his shoulder, but he did not move. There isn't anything you can do, lad. Besides, they're likely safe with Moraine and Lan by this time. Can you think of any better than those two for getting the lot of them clear? I tried to talk her out of coming, Rand said. You did what you could, lad. No one could ask more. I told her I'd take care of her. I should have tried harder. The creak of the sweeps and the hum of the rigging in the wind made a mournful tune. I should have tried harder. Great chapter. Very exciting. Very curious to see how each of the groups will fare without Moraine and Lan now. I'm sure she'll catch up quick enough to... Gosh, I don't know. Either Nynaeve or Perrin. I think they're going to struggle to find the others. Yeah, we'll see. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Okay, thanks, bye.